There are a lot of people out there who say quartz is not cool. In fact, when I make videos about quartz watches, sometimes people in the comments say, it's quartz, I'm not interested. So I get it. A lot of people don't like quartz watches. However, there are some watches that are quartz that are cool. And in some cases, I would say cooler than a mechanical watch. I would say there are mechanical movements out there that are somewhat boring. An NH35, I've seen it so many times. They aren't bad movements. They're workhorses. They're reliable. They're not very accurate. If you want something very accurate, you need to go to quartz. And I'm not talking about a standard quartz, because you can get non-standard quartz, things that are a little bit elevated versus your standard quartz. They are very cool. I'm going to go through all the different versions of quartz movements in this video. I'm going to start with an explanation of why I think quartz watches are cool beyond what I've just said, and we'll talk about each different version. So let's flip the camera and talk a little bit about quartz watches. So really, the major issue here for mechanical watches, the major issue in the life of a mechanical watch is the environment it's being kept in. Lots of mechanical watches are pretty finicky. Even those workhorse movements that I was talking about in the beginning of the video, like the NH35, maybe a Miyota 9000 series or an 8000 series, even Swiss-made movements, ETA, Sellita. And let's not even talk about in-house movements, because there are tons of different versions and makes of movements out there that we can talk about. But all of those movements, if it is mechanical, it is affected by the environment that it is kept in. And when I say that, I mean things like magnetism. The temperature of the room will affect the timekeeping capability of your watch. Shock resistance, position, all of these things don't matter. All of these things need to be considered when you're considering an automatic movement, especially if you're buying used. But even if you're buying new, not all automatic movements are created equal. So the environment doesn't have that much of an effect on quartz watches. They do get affected by the environment, temperature, and things like that will affect quartz watches, just nowhere near as much as automatic watches. And also age. That's another big thing here. Age is a big consideration for mechanical movements, not so much for quartz movements. Quartz watches like those from the mall for $100 are accurate to about 10 to 15 seconds per month. That is very accurate when you consider what an automatic movement in a watch that costs $100, which is actually very rare, will be accurate to around 20 to 30 seconds per day. So I'm going to start at the top here. So that's a standard quartz, just your run-of-the-mill quartz, something that costs like $5, usually put in very affordable, very cheap watches. But then there's movements like spring drive movements. Spring drives, basically the complete opposite end of a standard quartz movement, almost exactly like an automatic movement, however, very different at the same time. Spring drives have a unique hybrid movement that combines the best of mechanical and the quartz world. So both technologies married together, offering an accuracy of plus or minus 1 second per day. That is very, very accurate. So around 30 seconds per month. That is very, very good when you consider that something like an NH35 is accurate to around 40 seconds per day. Same brand, same company, offering the spring drive, accurate to 1 second per day. Obviously, this is a lot more expensive, of course, but you can see what can be done with a quartz movement. The spring drive movement is found in a range of Seiko models. They are found in Seiko, Grand Seiko, from sporty watches to dress watches. They make automatic versions. So these are versions that are powered by the movement of your wrist, or hand-wound versions, ones that you actually wind up. They have a tri-synchro regulator that includes a glide wheel, and that rotates continuously, and that gives you a very smooth sweep second. So again, another advantage here is that you're getting that sweep second in a quartz movement. There are a few movements that offer sweep seconds, and I will go through those in this video. But that is very impressive. These are expensive. I will be listing more watches that are much more affordable in this video and extremely accurate. The next movement on this list is one of my favorite movements that you can buy. I think it's so cool, and it's a little bit of a theater on your wrist, something that you could look at on the front of your watch. This is electrostatic movements. They are proprietary to the Citizen Group. Currently, only Accutron use the movement, so these are Accutron specific movements. Electrostatic by Citizen is essentially a quartz movement where the hands are powered by turbines. So those little turbines on the dial spin and they create static electricity, and that's what powers the hands on the watch. So these are quartz watches that get little turbines that actually power the hands. And again, you get a very smooth sweep seconds. It's a continuous second. And these are very accurate, actually more accurate than what you get from Spring Drive, plus or minus 5 seconds per month. Think about how accurate that is. That is extremely accurate, but we're going to keep going and get even more accurate. The next movement, finally, something affordable. These are watches. These are movements that you can find on places like eBay for very, very good prices. Seiko Kinetic movements. Now, they came out with Seiko Kinetic movements before they came out with Spring Drive. So these have been around for a very long time. They were competing with ETA at some point. ETA came out with their Auto Quartz. So these are a little bit different from Auto Quartz movements. We'll talk about those in just a few seconds. But Seiko Kinetic movements, basically what they are is a hybrid of a mechanical and a quartz movement. They are generally considered to be very accurate as well. It is just a rotor that is attached to a quartz movement. You have a capacitor, so you do get a battery with these. So this is a very traditional quartz movement. Basically, that pendulum, that rotor powers the movement, and that energy is stored in the battery, which is a rechargeable battery. That battery powers the movement. That's basically it. Very accurate, again, plus or minus 15 seconds per month. So that is very, very good, like a half a second a day, which you really cannot beat. Auto Quartz from ETA. I actually own a watch with an Auto Quartz movement inside. It's a digital watch, but they make different versions that power different types of watches, so you can get an analog display with an Auto Quartz as well. These movements are pretty complicated, and they're actually pretty good looking as well. They kind of look like a standard ETA movement, but they are pretty high end. Accurate to 10 seconds per year. That's more accurate than Spring Drive. That's one of the most accurate movements that you can buy on the market today. There are a few others that are very accurate as well, but this is extremely accurate and also not bad looking. Like I said, it looks like an automatic movement. I really do think that these are somewhat the best of both worlds. You do have a battery, unfortunately, so you do get a capacitor, which you need to change from time to time. Those are pretty expensive to change. So this is the first thermocompensated quartz movement that we're talking about on this list. That means that it compensates for the temperature, which again, like I was saying, is an environmental issue that quartz movements usually are susceptible to, however, not as much as mechanical movements. So making a watch or making a movement that is thermocompensated, so it actually will adjust based on the temperature, makes it extremely accurate. So this is where we get into high accuracy quartz thermocompensated watches. So these are operating the same way as a regular quartz watch would, except they also feature a thermocompensated case that can detect changes in the temperature and adjust as needed. So that allows the watch to be extremely accurate. And we're going to go through some watches, specific examples of thermocompensated quartz movements that are very, very accurate. The Z33 from Omega on the higher end here, these are accurate to 10 seconds per year. However, if you want something that's more affordable, look to the ETA group. Of course, Omega in the ETA group, but look to their lower brands, Certina, Tissot. Tissot offer a number of watches that have thermocompensated quartz movements, and they are extremely accurate. Again, 10 seconds per year. Citizen Caliber 001, again, more expensive, but a yearly accuracy of plus or minus 1 second per year. This is one of the most accurate watches in the world. They don't put this movement in cases that are sporty. I wish they did. Usually they come in very thin dress watches, unfortunately, but maybe one day they will do something a little sporty. I hope they do. Christopher Ward make a chronograph. They came out with this last year. That is an ETA movement that is thermocompensated, and it's pretty affordable and very good looking. That's the C63 Valor, I want to say. Really good looking chronograph for a very good price. Grand Seiko, of course, have a thermocompensated quartz movement. That is the 9F, plus or minus 10 seconds per year. The 9F movement is really a very good looking movement. They actually put display case backs. They put a lot into these watches. So they're one of the only brands that offer a display case back for their quartz movements. There are a few brands who do it, but I think it's really cool that they do that. And obviously very proud of the technology, and they should be. They don't offer many sporty designs with this movement in it, and I wish they did. You know, I always want a sporty watch, so they don't do that with these movements. I would love that. Breitling offer something that's pretty cool as well. The Super Quartz, plus or minus 10 seconds per year. The Longines Conquest, the VPH, the very high precision, plus or minus 5 seconds per year. They make these in a sporty model. They make a GMT, they make a chronograph. These are on the secondary market because they technically no longer make these watches, but you can go on the secondary market. You get these for around $500. You're getting a really good looking watch that is very, very accurate and very affordable. So definitely check those out because they are awesome. So if you've been with me this long, we're almost done with the list. There are 3 more movements that we're going to talk about. The first movement we're going to talk about is yet another affordable movement. This one is from Bulova. It's the Precisionist. These are extremely accurate, plus or minus 10 seconds per year. They operate at 262 Hertz, so you are getting a beautiful sweep seconds. The Bulova Precisionist does come in some sports models. They make some field style watches, and of course they make dress watches and a lot of chronographs, a lot of sporty chronographs, but they also do make a dive watch. I wish they came out with that dive watch in a slightly smaller size. I think a lot of people would really like that, but they do make a dive watch. So if you want a dive watch with a very accurate movement of plus or minus 10 seconds per year and a sweep second, definitely check out their Marine. I believe it's called the Marine Star. Beautiful watch, and it's very, very accurate. The next to last movement I'll mention here is Mecha Quartz. Mecha Quartz are basically a standard quartz movement. However, you are getting a chronograph function and it is partially mechanical. So you're getting a sweep seconds to that chronograph seconds hand, but everything else is basically what you would get from a quartz movement. These aren't extremely accurate like the other watches that we're talking about here, plus or minus 15 seconds per month. Very cool movements, and they give you a lot of options, so they do look really good in more affordable chronographs. Last but not least, and the most expensive movement on this list, yes, Spring Drive was not the most expensive movement on this list. I don't remember if I said that it was, but it is not. FP Journe make a quartz movement, and it is fantastic. However, they do go for a lot of money, and they didn't always go for that money. They just recently just skyrocketed. People, I guess, went to the cheapest version of an FP Journe and drove up the prices of those. I remember when these were selling for around $8,000, which is a lot of money for a quartz movement watch, but these are pretty cool. So FP Journe make an electromechanical movement. That's what they call them. It has a standby of 35 minutes. So if it's motionless for 35 minutes, it basically starts to go into a sleep mode. It has a restart and automatic time setting. So when you pick it up, it will go to the correct time immediately. And it does that because the watch has a motion detector. So on the front of the watch, there's a little pendulum. And when that moves, it knows that it's being woken up and it goes and puts itself back into the correct time. Very cool movements. And again, they put a display case back so you could see these movements from the back. But again, if you are spending lots of money, they're going for like $40,000 now. If you're spending that much money on a watch, you want to see something, you know, when you look in the back and you see a quartz movement, you might be a little bit disappointed because, not because it's a bad movement, but just because, you know, they are a lot cheaper to make. That's really it. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. I tried to be as comprehensive as possible. If there's something that I missed, please let me know down in the description below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? And if I missed anything, let me know. That's really it, guys. Thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. I really appreciate it, and it helps the channel. I'll catch you guys in the next video.